Imagination is everything. It is the preview of life's coming attractions. You don't have to be great to start, but you have to start to be great. Rock stars. This is episode 27 of Stuck on Sawdust. Rock stars, welcome to the shop. I'm Daniel with Bearded Viking Woodworks. For those of you who are new to the channel, I scour online sites like these, searching for the most customizable, the most profitable, and the most popular woodworking projects I can find and bring back to share with you guys. I want to show you how I would build these and why you should consider building these projects as well. In today's video, we're going to be going custom, starting off with this badass mid-century modern shelf. This thing is simple to make, is unique, and packed a big ass profit. It's 20 inches in length, and the height of the backer is at 30 inches. But we're gonna switch it up just a little bit and put our little spin on it. Good shot. We're gonna be going over my new favorite mounting process when we mount this shelf. But first, we gotta mill down some lumber. So meet me at the table saw. So recently I did a deck replace job and replaced a bunch of Ipe decking. And I've got some Ipe here that is worn and weathered, but I'm gonna mill it at the joiner and the planer to bring that color back to it. And I've got this piece of hickory stock and I already got it ripped down. It was a big old 16-quarter piece. And my hickory is 3 1/4 inches wide, and I got it cut to 2 inches thick, and the piece is 23.5 long. My Ipe's long, it's about 44 inches long, so I'll cut it right at 22, right down the middle. So let's get this milling done, and I'll meet you back here, and we'll get this thing laid out and put together. All right, guys, now that all of our stock is milled down, we just need to cut it to the right lengths and size. Whenever you're milling Ipe especially, wear this damn mask because that dust is nasty and will hurt you. PPE is important. So we got our hickory here. Right now it is S3S. As well as our Ipe is S3S, which is surface 3 sides, because we jointed one face, jointed one side, and then we made this face parallel with the face we jointed. So that's S3S, surface 3 sides. So their shelf is 4 inches in width, and their little backer piece is 1.5 inches, about that. So we're going to make our shelf 5 1/4 wide by 1 inch thick and 22 inches in length. Our backer is going to be 1.75 inches by 1 inch. So we're going to rip our backers first out of this hickory at 1 inch. And we're going to take this cut in a couple passes because it's so wide. So we'll take about 1 inch at a time. All right, so we've got our hickory dickory dock. We've got our hickory dickory ripped to 1 inch in thickness by 1 3/4 inches. And these are 24 inches. So we'll keep these at 24 inches. Our epay is 22 inches. And I like those dimensions for this shelf. I ripped 2 of these because I'm thinking of doing something particular. However, I'm going to go ahead and just use this one for now. And then I'll reassess after we get the notches cut. So now we need to cut a notch in our back here of our shelf, and we need to cut a notch in our hickory. Now for the hickory notch, we're only going to be going in at 7/8 of an inch because we're just going halfway with our notch. I want it sitting at a particular angle, so I need to find what angle works, and once I find that angle, I'll just make a little scribe line on my piece, and then I'll ultimately figure out what the angle is. So I'm just going to play around a little bit with the 2 pieces, and once I see something I like, I'll make a mark. I'm liking that right there. And this particular angle is on a 25-degree angle. So we'll go ahead and get set up at our table saw to get this 25-degree angle notched out. And we'll grab our handy dandy miter gauge and we will turn it to 75. And that should line up with our mark we made. Now, before we go cutting anything, I need to get my calipers set to the thickness of our shelf. And we'll just close the caliper mouth right over our shelf and lock it in place, just like that. So now that we got the width of that set that aside, and we'll come here with our square and set our square to 7/8. Now we'll take our blade height and set our blade height at 7/8, just like so. Now we need to lay out our notches on our piece. We'll grab our square and we'll take our short point of the angle we marked right here and square that down. Now what we'll do is take our speed square, and just like how we did with the last shelf, I'll put the speed square right on top of my mark and take this end here of our calipers and butt our square with that end and lightly mark across this piece. And then take your pencil and darken up that line. And that is your thickness of your notch. So now we'll come with our square that is set at 7/8 and just mark right across your notch. And so that is what is coming out. Now that we got our backer marked, we'll take our shelf. Now we just need to play around with where we want the notch for our epay to be. And I'm going to mark it right here. Just like so. So that mark is at 5 inches from our side here. And you want this notch to be super precise. So you may want to grab a marking knife. If you don't have one, that's fine. A pencil still works, but be very precise. And that will be where the notch of our epay goes. Once we make that mark, we'll take our square that we had set at 7/8 and just mark your epay right along those 2 marks you made. And this guy right here is what comes out. So we're set up to make our notch in our backer right now. So we'll go ahead and make this notch. And when we go to make the notch in our shelf, we'll have to reverse this miter. But we'll get to that in just a second. Let's go ahead and cut out this notch. when I went to go cut the notch out, I noticed that my miter sled was on the wrong direction. So I kept it that way though, because I was like, you know what, let's put this piece on the left side of the shelf. And I think I like that a lot better actually. But anyhow, your notch should come together and fit ever so snug. Oh yes, but ever so sweet. Just like that. So now we just need to go ahead and cut the notch out of our epee. Okay, so me being the ever so perfectionist, I went ahead and cut a new notch out of this other piece, which is fine. So for your backer to sit in your notch with this design here, you want to have your miter sled turned in the right direction. So, lesson learned, but no big deal because I can still use this piece for the idea I had for this shelf, putting our spin on it. So, no worries. So just double check the direction of your miter sled, and that way you get the accurate notch on how you want this design to be. But ultimately, that's up to y'all. However you would like to do it. Now, so we don't screw up and do the same thing on our shelf, we're going to take and make the marks that our notch needs to go. That way, we can just triple verify that we have our miter gauge set the right direction. My God. But hey, nobody's perfect, right? And that should be in the same direction we have our miter sled now. So, no need to change the direction of your miter sled once you get it set, because it'll be the same direction of the notch for this piece and our backer. So, I apologize about the mix-up. That is totally my bad. Let's go ahead and rock and roll this epee notch. Alright, and your shelf should come together like this. So, you can call me crazy if you want. But my wheels keep turning and turning and turning with this design. The beautiful thing about customizable pieces are there are no limitations except the ones you set for yourself. So, although I made a mistake cutting this piece backwards for the notch, I'm actually going to utilize that mistake and turn it into a piece of art. Hopefully. So, I don't like the length of it though, but I'm liking how this is kind of a mirror slash flip of itself here. But the length is just throwing me off. I don't think the length is going to work out. So what I'm going to do is measure up from my shelf to the long point of my top here, which is 5 1/4, and then I'm going to come over here and do the same thing, measure at 5 1/4, and I'm going to cut this square. And I'm hoping to God that that's going to look okay. Another idea I had was taking and having it come down like this, but I don't know, that looks kind of generic to me. So we're gonna go with my first idea. Man, I am stuck between a rock and a hard place. We gotta take chances, right? Let's head to the miter box. All right, so here goes nothing. Let's check it out. Why? Okay. No, let's bring it back over yonder. Yeah, I think I can rock with that. We literally just put the V in Viking with this shelf. Okay, so we're going to go ahead and rock and roll with this notch. I trust myself enough to know that it's going to be original, it's going to be unique, and there's not going to be anything else like it. That's the goal. So we will pull in from our left side now, and you don't have to add this piece. You can fast forward the video. You don't even got to worry about this piece. So 5 inches, and this could be a total waste of time. I hope not. I really think I'm gonna like it. I don't know, guys.
2 hours later.
Alright, so let's rock and roll. And there we have it. I like it.
I like it a lot.
Alright guys, so before we do anything else, we're gonna go ahead and use our key slot bit for our router for our mounting hardware, which is literally 2 screws. Alright, so the height of our bit is right at 3/8, which is perfect. Let's go ahead and center our router bit with our shelf. And I've got some start marks as well as some stop marks. I'm going to be installing a key slot here and over here. So I've got my start marks for this side, and then we'll just move it forward, and I've got start and stop marks on my back side right here as well. I'm going to be plunging it, and once I get it plunged, I'm just going to scoot it forward 3/4 for each slot. You don't really need any more than that. Let your router stop completely, and then back it up and pop it right out. Same thing, let your router stop, pull back, pop it right out. And that's what your slots should look like. All right, so now what you want to do is you want to...
I am your father. Say what?
So now we're going to hit it with some 150 grit and get this thing glued up. And I'll meet you back here to put some finish on this bad boy. So now we're just going to take our tack cloth and give it a little wipe down and glue this bad boy up. Alright guys, so with the epay, it's important to remember, and this is if you work with epay. Most woodworkers do not work with epay, but if you do happen to come across some epay, the natural oils in the epay act as interference with glue bonding to it. So you need to take some acetone or even mineral spirits and just wipe down the glue surface you're going to be gluing to. So my wife was nice enough to give me some denatured alcohol. Oh, I about spilt it everywhere. We're just going to get the rag damp. And you probably should wear gloves using this stuff. And you just want to get all up in here with your rag and make sure you're soaking that surface with the denatured alcohol. That way your glue will stick. Otherwise, your glue will not stick. Similarly, the oil-based varnishes and poly varnishes will not adhere to the epay because of the natural oils. So I've got some de-waxed shellac here, which is just a sealer coat that I'm going to be applying first after we get it glued up. So while my shot is over there soaking in the de-waxed shellac, we're going to get this thing glued together. So you know what time it is. We going to add a dab of glue, 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 add a dab of glue.
Alright guys, we're going to let this dry up. We'll slap some finish on this bad boy, and I'll meet you back at the workbench.
Now I didn't finish our back because I didn't want the finish to rub off on their wall. But this color pattern is absolutely beautiful. So to get our layout, we're going to do the tape method. And you want it to be pretty even across your piece. Next thing you're going to want to do is just press ever so slightly down where your slots are cut in. And you'll notice that you'll start to be able to see where the slots are. And just take your Sharpie, just make that circle. And that is where your screws will mount in the wall. So let's go ahead and cut the tape flush to both sides of your shelf. And we'll just pop this tape off and take it over to our wall. And the beauty of our shelf being at 22 inches, it gives us room to lay out our slots just perfect for the stud layout in your typical home. Most studs in every home are on a 16 set ahead layout. So in my wall, I got a stud here, and my 16 inches is right here at my other stud. What you want to do is go ahead and pull up from your floor and figure out the height you want and make a mark, just a light mark, and then take a level and level the mark across your wall. Here I've already got these 1x4s nailed to my wall, so those are already level, so I'm just going to go with those. So we want to install our screws. These are 2-inch T20 screws right in the center of our holes. And you want the screw to stick out about 1/4 inch from the wall, the screw head. So we'll take our shelf, line up our slot holes with our screws, and it should fall right into place, just like that. And pull over. And now you're locked in. So say you don't like this layout, remember this is a reversible shelf. That's what I really like about the key slot method, is you can reverse this layout. Look at that. Come on guys. Wow, rock stars. Just a couple of quick notes. Number one, these key slots are freaking amazing. I absolutely love them. They are a must on most of my shelves from here on out. Number two, look at that color contrast. The hickory with that epay, my God, that is just absolutely stunning. This piece is mid-century modern and somehow rustic. I don't know how I pulled that off. Maybe it's just the two colors. However, I absolutely love it. Plus, the fact that it is reversible sets this thing apart from the rest. Guys, I absolutely recommend building this thing. Put your own spin on it. If I had to do it again, I wouldn't glue in my backers. They don't add any kind of support to the shelf. The shelf is all in this piece of epay, so they're not necessary to be glued in. If you want to save on some shipping cost, don't glue them in. That way you pop them out and boom, you can lay them flat in a long box and out the door. As far as material to build this guy, you're looking at about 20 bucks. With shipping, you're looking anywhere from 25 upwards of 30 to build this and ship this. They're asking $100 for theirs, and I think that's a reasonable price. With that number and the amount you're going to spend to build this, you're looking at a big ass profit. This one definitely gets an A+ in my shop. I want to give a couple of shout outs to a couple of my members that have recently sent me some projects that they have just completed. The first one is one of my members named Todd. This guy is badass. His girlfriend loves sunflowers. And you know me, I got to keep my wife happy, so I'm sure he did the same by making this for his significant other. Great job, Todd. Kick ass. This next member is actually making me a custom tumbler, and she downloaded my logo and is going to apply it to this tumbler, and I am stoked about this. Thank you, Julia. Badass. This next one is a project I did months back, and she took the reins and made a few of these, and I just wanted to share them with you guys. And great job. I absolutely love them. Rock stars, that does it for this video. I want to encourage you to get in your shop and make some sawdust and give this shelf a shot. This thing is badass. This is Bearded Viking Woodworks, and I'm Daniel. Get in your shop and make some sawdust. Thanks, guys.